that will hopefully, you know, get anyone in the loop that's that misses it today.
Right, okay, well, just formally to welcome everybody, okay, to this second Youth and Schools event for the Scotland-Malawi Partnership. The Scotland-Malawi Partnership, okay, really exists to coordinate, support and represent, okay, the civic links between groups in Malawi and in Scotland, and we work hand in hand with our sister organisation, MASP, the Malawi-Scotland Partnership. I'm just trying to use my own background as an ex-science teacher to try and develop further links which could be used, okay, across the board. Archie and I have met before many times, and I'm hoping there's going to be one or two other people who will come into the meeting today as well and find this of use, because I think this is a possible stimulus for groups where it maybe provoke thought within groups of youngsters in Scottish schools and what they can do in Malawi. So Debbie, you're more than welcome.
Thank you very much for having me. Okay, I'll just share my screen. Probably what I'll do is I will keep my presentation fairly brief. And then if you have any questions, we can have a bit of a chat after that. I don't imagine we'll be much longer than half an hour. But yeah, we can have a wee bit of a chat and see what ideas we come up with. So my name's Debbie. As Ian said, I'm the programme manager for the STEM Ambassador programme in Scotland. So hopefully you know that's why you're here, to find out a little bit more about STEM ambassadors. And yeah, I'm going to give you some tips on how you could incorporate them into what you do. So my first question is, who has heard of the STEM Ambassador programme and who has met a STEM ambassador before or used a STEM ambassador before? It would be great if you could just pop a little comment into the chat as to kind of what your experience with STEM ambassadors is. I can see a few typing. Thank you very much. I'll give you a moment to post. So you've met some but never used. Yeah. Okay. So I think that's probably quite common. There's a lot of people who have probably met a STEM ambassador at some point, but maybe haven't formally requested a STEM ambassador. So what I'll do today is I'll talk you through how you can actually request a STEM ambassador yourself, and kind of rather than it maybe just being someone that you come across or someone that you might know directly. So we've had some STEM ambassadors involved, great. Heard of them but not seen them in school. Okay, so hopefully this will just, as I say, give you an idea of how you could start requesting STEM ambassadors. So I think this is quite an interesting quote to think about. 65% of children today will work in jobs that don't yet exist. One of the things that we can probably predict is that whatever those jobs will be linked to STEM in some way. Science, technology, engineering, and maths is, and pretty much you can link it to every career at the moment already, but it's definitely going to be important in jobs going forward. And so we really need to prepare children for that really STEM heavy future career market that there's going to be. So I'm sure you are all aware of this, but just in case, STEM is science, technology, engineering, and maths, but it's really broad. One of the things that we often talk about is STEM skills. And by STEM skills, we basically mean any of the employability skills you might talk about. So communication, problem solving, teamwork, all those things are STEM skills. So a lot of the time we encourage STEM ambassadors to maybe not think about their the STEM volunteering that they do as thinking about being an expert in a particular really niche subject, but actually broadening out what they can do and thinking more about the STEM skills that they can talk about and how they can get young people using those STEM skills. So yeah, but problem solving's a really great one. There's loads of really simple activities that STEM ambassadors do that involve problem solving, teamwork, really great ways to get those STEM skills activated through like challenges and competitions and things like that. And as it says there, STEM skills are everywhere. So who are STEM ambassadors? So STEM ambassadors have a wide range of backgrounds. They could be, we have STEM ambassadors who are students, maybe at college or university. Really great for, if you've got young people that are wanting to learn about what it's like to be at college or university, or maybe you need a mentor for a competition, someone that the students you're working with can relate to. STEM ambassador students from college and university would be ideal for that. We also have people that are retired that are STEM ambassadors. We have people that are anywhere through their career journey. And we also have people that have a hobby that's STEM related, or people that work in a STEM sector but aren't directly involved in STEM or don't have a STEM background. So, for example, someone that works in marketing or HR might not have a STEM background, but still work in STEM sectors. And so we try and make sure all these people are STEM ambassadors so that young people are getting exposed to all of the opportunities that are available within STEM sectors. And then, as it says there, it could be academic, industry. As I said, it could be a hobby. So it's a really broad range of people. And the main thing that we ask for is that the main requirement, in fact, to be a STEM ambassador is that they're passionate about STEM. That's the one requirement, the one tick box we have is that they're passionate about STEM. There's no sort of qualification required to be a STEM ambassador. And it's all about helping open up the STEM opportunities that are out there. I think a lot of the time, STEM ambassadors, it's very easy for STEM ambassadors to talk about careers because they know their own career journey. They can talk about their own career journey. So that's definitely one thing that we encourage STEM ambassadors to do. But it's also opening up just all the possibilities that are available with in STEM and showing how it is everywhere and exposing young people to more STEM professionals. So yeah, there's lots of different ways that you can that STEM ambassadors can support. Let me just read this. So yeah, you maybe have met one before, the electric racing car. A lot of people support the green power competitions. Green power goblin car, I think, might be what you're talking about, and they're fantastic. And STEM ambassadors often support those. I think that's often for the more technical skills, because I think there's like bits of soldering and things like that that maybe certainly in primary schools might not be skills that some of those teachers have. So that's where STEM ambassadors are actually coming with some practical skills to that type of activity. So just to give you an idea of the STEM Ambassador Programme and what it looks like in the UK, it's a UK-wide programme that's been running for over 20 years. It's run by an organisation called STEM Learning. I will be directing you to their website at the end of this presentation, because that's where you will be able to request STEM ambassadors. That's where you'll be able to access lots of resources. And a really fantastic website, lots of information. They've got really good testimonials from STEM ambassadors and things like that. So if you want to hear from a STEM ambassador directly, I would suggest having a look at the STEM Learning website. So they run the programme for the whole of the UK, and they've split the UK into different regions, and different organisations run these different regions. This is actually an old map. It's all recently been updated, and there's different regions. So it shows 3 regions in Scotland. Actually, we're just one region, and that's the region that I manage, and I work at an organisation called CERC. CERC might have been an organisation that you've come across before for any of your professional learning needs. And health and safety advisory service as well. You might also be aware of the Young STEM Leader Programme. almost a precursor to the STEM Ambassador program, where young people are encouraged to share their passion for STEM with their local community. So that could be a P7 running an activity with some P1s, or it could be an S3 going to a local nursing home and doing a STEM activity. So it's really, really broad as to what they can do as a young STEM leader. And yeah, it's kind of, as I say, a bit of a precursor to the STEM Ambassador program. All of the things that CIRC do, we incorporate STEM ambassadors into those. So professional learning, any career elements, we're talking to our STEM ambassadors about. For young STEM leader, if there's there's often an element of maybe doing a bit of research into, for example, diversity within STEM sectors. So they maybe come to STEM ambassadors and ask some questions, or maybe STEM ambassadors can mentor young STEM leaders through the program as well. We have, it says over 4,500 STEM ambassadors in Scotland, and it's actually over 5,000 now. So a really fantastic population of volunteers, and all passionate about STEM, all available to be contacted, or to volunteer for activities. These people are all, a majority of them, I would say, are in full-time employment, so they can't volunteer all day every day. Some very passionate people will volunteer fairly regularly. Some can maybe only do something once a year. So it's really varied, and the way that our digital platform works is that they can choose when they want to volunteer and what types of activities they want to volunteer for. But I'm going to show you our website a wee bit later. So these are some of the activities that STEM ambassadors could support and have done in the past. So workshops, something maybe in a classroom, maybe it's a building challenge or something like that. Any kind of workshops, STEM ambassadors can support. Talks as well, as I mentioned, career talks are a really simple way to involve a STEM ambassador in what you're doing, and it's a really easy way for a STEM ambassador to get involved because they talk about their a subject matter that they are the expert on, which is themselves, and usually their sort of career journey. You can also organise site visits, so actually going and visiting workplaces, which is a fantastic experience for young people. Even just going into an office, it's really interesting to see how young people and teachers as well actually respond to even seeing around an office. And sometimes you'll talk to STEM ambassadors and they'll be like, oh, it's just an office. No one will want to come and see our office. But actually, it's not an environment that young people have maybe seen before. So even exposing them to that is really quite exciting for them, and sort of seeing maybe the one that I went to recently was quite a modern building. There was quite cool stuff going on in it. So it's quite fun to see all those kind of things. There's also opportunity for STEM ambassadors to support longer term projects and mentoring and things like that. One of the things we are encouraging STEM ambassadors to do more of, and so encouraging teachers to request more of, is the more long-term support. So I think young people, they will maybe, if there's a one-off activity with a STEM ambassador, they'll maybe remember the activity, they'll maybe have engaged with STEM, they'll find it exciting. But if they have numerous engagements with a STEM ambassador, maybe it's through supporting a team, entering a competition, they'll start to remember that STEM ambassador, and they'll start to be able to relate to that in STEM ambassador. And as they start to do that, they'll then start to be able to see themselves as somebody that could be in STEM. So I do think that's why that long-term engagement, or at least a couple of interactions with the same STEM ambassador, is really important. And I've already kind of mentioned competitions. Resource creation is quite a cool one as well. It's, if you wanted, rather than you having to book out a time in your calendar to do something with a STEM ambassador, you could ask them to contribute to a resource you're creating. They kind of can do that in their own time. You get sent it, and then you can use it whenever you want. And we also work with STEM ambassadors to create resources that you can tap into as well. So yeah, that's quite a good option. So just an idea of some of the things that STEM ambassadors might be able to do for you. So the benefits, hopefully you've kind of, as I'm talking, you're seeing the benefits. I'm kind of talking about it as I'm going through it as well. There's a couple of things mentioned there. So a different experience, getting a STEM ambassador into your classroom or wherever your young people might be, providing that knowledge and insight. It's obviously really difficult to know about absolutely everything and absolutely every career that's available. And so this is where STEM ambassadors can come in and give you a bit of flavour, and you don't need to maybe worry about trying to include all that yourself and try and be the expert matter of all careers that are available. Access to areas of STEM learners might not otherwise get access to. So it could be something that they've never even thought of, never even heard of, that they're being able to tap into. It's a good way to deliver STEM areas of the curriculum as well. It can also be incorporated into any interdisciplinary learning you're doing as well. Really useful for bringing in, for example, like an art teacher working in STEM, or working on a project. A STEM activity is really good for incorporating something like art, because there's so much design involved in anything that you do, and when you're constructing something, and when you're trying to solve a problem, there's that element of design. Also, I think history is a really good one, trying to think about the how things would have looked at, how engineering's looked at in the past and how it's looked at now. So there's lots of interdisciplinary learning that you can do as well. It also makes it fun and exciting, bringing lots of different people together and bringing new faces into a classroom environment. And there's lots of resources available on the STEM Ambassador in Scotland website and on the STEM Learning website, which I will show you later on. Here's an idea of an activity that, just to give you an idea of the kind of things that you can request. This is just an example so that you can see the types of things that are available. So this one's particularly looking at lab science, sort of quite a specific ask. So you can be really specific in what you're wanting from a STEM ambassador. You can choose a particular topic, a particular part of the curriculum. Maybe you can include that in your description, or you can be much broader. You can be, I want people to talk about careers, and leave it as open as that and see who comes back to you. So there's lots of different ways that you can incorporate STEM ambassadors into what you do. You can also request STEM ambassadors for online support or in-person support. In-person is obviously would be the best every time, because you're actually getting to see them, but there's a lot of constraints on yourselves with timetabling, and there's a lot of constraints on STEM ambassadors with their work schedules as well. So online support is fantastic as well. One of the things that you can do is they can Teams call into your classroom, and they can do a little presentation about themselves and then do a bit of a Q&A with the class. So you're still getting that interactive element because they are able to still answer questions from the class. So that kind of thing's nice and simple to slot in. Could be something that's a 10-15 minute part of a lesson. So I've mentioned resources already. I mentioned there's resources on the STEM Ambassador in Scotland website, and there's resources on the STEM Learning website. Lots and lots of things to help you and support you in your STEM delivery. You don't need to reinvent the wheel each time. There's lots of different things that you can use. A lot are curriculum linked, so you can pick them up and run with them. Also, one of the things I would say is when you're working with a STEM ambassador is that they aren't the experts in working with young people. That's where you come in. So it's kind of working together with your STEM ambassador. So rather than thinking of handing over the reins of your class or of your group that you're working with to a STEM ambassador, it's actually the two of you working together to do something with your class. So this is where you can maybe be supporting your STEM ambassador with maybe tapping into resources that you think would be relevant, or planning together. I would always say it's quite useful to maybe have a chat, whether that's over the phone or by email, before you meet a STEM ambassador, to make sure that you're both on the same page, you both know what's happening, and it will make it easier in the long run for when the activity actually happens. So next steps. The next thing I would like you to do is head to the stem.org.uk website and create a profile. From there, what you can do is you can request STEM ambassadors. So it's called Add an Activity. I'll take you through it in a moment. You can also browse offers. So offers are things that STEM ambassadors have added, so that they're maybe saying, I can do X, Y, and Z. You can search through a list, see what suits your needs, and you can contact those STEM ambassadors directly. So it's kind of the opposite to you adding an activity. And there's lots of different things that you can tap into there, and as I mentioned, resources as well. And STEM Learning also run kind of weekly, every other week webinars that you can sign up to as well. So you can be the next one I think is about personal statement writing. So that could be one that you want to go through. They're doing some Christmas quizzes as well. So these are webinars that you can go on to, have your whole class watching the webinar, and STEM ambassadors are involved in those webinars. So that's quite useful, and that's all on the STEM Learning Eventbrite, which I will share with you. I'll share the link with you in the chat in a moment. You can create an educator profile, and if you're not based in the UK, you can create an international profile. You won't be able to request STEM ambassadors as they are UK based, but you will be able to tap into all the resources that there are, and potentially working with sort of colleagues in Scotland to deliver STEM activities together. Right, what I was going to do next was just quickly show you what your profile will look like. Has my screen moved on there, Ian, to the STEM Ambassador website? Perfect. So this is what the STEM Ambassador website looks like once you've got a profile. You just go along, if you go to stem.org.uk and you go to the button at the side here, it will say create an account or sign in. You may already have an account and you can sign in, or you can create your educator or international profile. For those that have educator profiles, it will look something like this. So you'll be able to go to activities and you'll be able to advertise an activity. So this is where you've got an idea of something that you want to do. Activity name, it's worth it being quite clear as to what you're wanting. So if you, rather than maybe calling it something quite specific, like maybe it's a festival of something something, and actually just say, we are looking for a STEM ambassador that wants to talk about maths. Maybe not in those many words, but maths activity, careers in maths. Keep it quite simple so that it's really clear as to what you're wanting, because that's the first thing a STEM ambassador is going to see. So you want to make sure you're getting the right people looking at your activity. There's then various parts to this form that you'll have to fill in, asking about the age group and all those kind of things. It will ask for a particular date. If you don't have a particular date, we recommend choosing a date that's kind of in the middle of the date range that you're thinking about, and then you can say in your description that you've got some flexibility over when you want that activity to take place. You can then request as many STEM ambassadors as you want, and then put in a description. And I would say try and put as much detail as possible, clearly outline what the activity is and what you want them to do. You can keep it still fairly broad from the point of view of like, it can be any time and we're looking for really broad careers, but try to give them a bit more detail about who they're working with, what you're looking for, time frames, and that kind of stuff. And there's a little bit about impact at the end. Once you then click add activity, you'll be then asked to check the information, and then you click publish. So that's how you add an activity. Once you've done that, STEM ambassadors, they'll log into their account, they'll start browsing your activities. They might filter for primary school or secondary school or biology or whatever it might be, and they'll be able to volunteer. Anytime they volunteer, you'll get an email notification, and you can also send messages through the digital platform so that you're directly communicating with any STEM ambassadors that volunteer. And then there's the offers section, so you can browse offers. So these are all from STEM ambassadors, and you can see what's available. And you can, so there's this is the Christmas quiz that I was talking about, the webinar that I mentioned, but you can see there's lots of different activities there that you can click on. And once you've clicked on it, you can find out a little bit more about that activity and then express interest. I always say it's worth putting a bit of information about yourself and why you're interested in an activity and why you think it would suit you, and maybe any, if there's a particular date you're looking at, just give a bit more information and start the conversation with the STEM ambassador. Again, you'll get an email notification anytime a STEM ambassador responds to any of your comments. And then you've got your resource section as well, and lots of useful things there. If you are just wanting to find out a bit more about the STEM Ambassador Program, head to this tab, and there's lots of nice videos. You can hear directly from STEM ambassadors. There's lots of different sections that you can find out more about. So I recommend having a look at that, and yeah, having a bit of an explore. So that's that bit, and that is all from me. So I've just got here, if you do create your profile, you have the option to sign up to our newsletter. I really do recommend that you sign up to our newsletter. We only email you once a term, so I promise we're not bombarding you. It just makes it a really easy way for us to keep you up to date on everything that we're doing. And that's our email address. Please get in contact if you have any questions. If you don't feel you're ready to create your educator profile today, don't worry about it at all. Just send me a message and I can help you and answer any further questions you might have. And I've also got our website there as well. Are there any questions at that point? I'll just pop some links in the chat while you're maybe having a think.
Just very quickly, Davey, one from me. You mentioned about the long term, the multiple contacts for the STEM ambassador. Would that be with the same ambassador, or would it perhaps be different?
Yeah, so the same ambassador, so that they're actually, the young people that you're working with are actually getting to know that one ambassador. There could, and obviously, you're welcome to, on the same project, engage with multiple STEM ambassadors as well. But yes, specifically what I was talking about there is working with one STEM ambassador over a longer period of time.
No.
Any other questions?
Any thoughts, Archie? Nick?
I've popped the link in the chat there. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen a moment. I'll put my email address in the chat as well. And I'll share the Eventbrite that I mentioned in case anyone is fancying a little Christmas quiz before the end of the year. So there you go. You can have a look at that. And as I say, please feel free to contact me on my email address.
Do we go to join the STEM community to join, Debbie?
No, it's the little kind of person icon in the top right hand corner. I can show you in a moment. It should be just next to join the STEM community.
Oh, Julie's now joined us, so she's keeping me right. There you go. Wave to
Have you found it?
Join the STEM community with the register thing. Yeah.
So let me just share my screen because I've got it just up here. So this dot here.
Yeah, I've got.
So it says my dashboard or log out. I think for you it'll say register or log in or something like that. Yeah. So go to register.
Okay.
But that has just reminded me, you mentioning the STEM community. It's basically just a opportunity. The STEM community is a really good place to chat with other educators that are doing STEM activities and things like that. So you can also join the STEM community, but it won't. You will need to have a profile in order to do that. So go to the sort of profile icon first and create your profile.
Another question from me, Debbie. You mentioned about the international educator. So would they have access to everything that we would see here? Or just they can't access the person, the ambassador in person?
So they can't access the STEM ambassador.
But they would have all the resources.
Things.
They would access exactly the same resources, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Is there anything else, folks?
I'll send
I think there's.
Oh.
Sorry, Debbie. I think there's the reason I did ask you to come along was that I think there's a real scope for employing these people when our school partnership groups are looking for new ideas, new stimulus, new projects, perhaps. It could just be a visit from one of the ambassadors. It might just be that wee trigger to get things going again, and then you've always got that person to go back to as well as perhaps the project develops.
I think as well, I was just going to say that I know learning for sustainability is key in the curriculum, and mentioning that and mentioning the sustainable development goals to STEM ambassadors in the activities that you're requesting, or when you're speaking to STEM ambassadors, is a really good idea. And every company has some kind of sustainability policy and things like that. So there will be elements that they can maybe bring to the discussion that you're maybe having with the young people you're working with that they've maybe not considered before. So yeah, there's some interesting discussions around that as well. And any projects you're thinking about, sort of competitions or activities, a lot of them can be linked to things like climate change, or can be tweaked to suit that type of activity as well. So,
Mick, I see your hands up. Do you want to come in?
Yeah, just I was wondering, we've recently heard it called STEAM, where they've involved the A for art. Is that out now, so that I can refer to this more accurately?
So it's just two different terms. So we still are called STEM ambassadors, but STEAM is also another term that is used. So a lot of the time it's referred to as like STEAM projects that might be happening as well, including the arts. So you can kind of use either or, but for these people, for the volunteers that we're talking about, is STEM ambassadors.
Okay, that makes sense. Thanks for that. And the other next thing was, we've still got a racing car. Is there anyone who can come and help us build it?
Certainly, we can have a look. If you get your profile and pop an activity request on the website, we can see if we can find anyone to help you with that.
Excellent. Thanks very much.
No worries.
Thanks, Mike. Archie?
Yeah, I remembered what it was I was going to say the first time round, so that's quite a good thing. Yeah, just to say, I thought it's quite helpful for you to mention that when you're working with the STEM ambassadors, just trying to plan an event, it's be good to kind of be as specific as possible as to what you're trying to get out, because I think, in retrospect of the next time we do it, what we would do is we would just make sure that the presentation was pitched at the right level for the listeners, because it's what you're saying about, they might not be used to working with children of a specific age range, and therefore, in order to get the biggest impact, it'd be important to communicate the level that you're wanting to work at. So I think that's just an observation, really.
Yeah, I think that is really important, and I think sometimes it's easy to just think, oh well, they're the expert, and we'll leave them to it. Whereas actually, yeah, they will appreciate input and feedback, so that they can keep on improving what they do. So yeah, and as well, sometimes we have very experienced STEM ambassadors that maybe have worked with young people of all ages, and they can maybe quite easily adapt to different age groups. But then there'll be others that maybe you don't have that level of experience, and you don't quite know that until you've had that conversation and figured that out.
Yes. Yeah, I think Julie was agreeing with that observation. You know, we're trying to engage as much as we can the STEM ambassadors, and we've had some YSLs as well, which has been very
fantastic.
It's been such a very stimulating. It was very good. Yeah. So
great.
I've just noticed, David, we do have a colleague joined us from Malawi.
Hi.
Hudson, do you have anything you want to ask about the event?
Now I don't have any question because I'm just joining, but I'm following. Thanks.
Hudson, just to confirm that this has been recorded, and it'll be on. There'll be a link on the SNP website. Okay, within the next few days for us, so you can follow what has been done. I'm just going to say right away that the in-person visits that Debbie has been talking about cannot take place in Malawi through this system here. My hope was it would stimulate some thought in Malawi to have perhaps a similar approach in Malawi, where local experts could come in and do the same thing into Malawian schools.
Yeah, it sounds like a really good idea.
That is so wonderful to hear, because as a Malawians, we're expecting more, and we need more interventions for us to grow better. And if we are seeing this partnership, we're so excited. That's why we're following everything. So one day we may sing another song of success. Thanks.
Hudson, just very quickly, you may have missed this. You can register as an international educator. What Debbie was saying earlier with the wee avatar, the wee login person.
Yeah.
And you would be able to access all the online resources that we can across here as well.
Okay, that is a good idea. Well, that is a welcome idea. I am a teacher. I'm serving with the government of Malawi. So to intervene in other relationship, the government has other policies, but I'll go through it so that I may be one of participants really involved in this initiative. So I'll make a decision, and I will take another step for me to contribute a lot for this to be successful in our country as well as abroad, so that we may live in a happy manner. That is what I can say at now. Thanks.
Zakomo, Hudson, Zakomo. Do we have? I was just going to ask Debbie if anybody. Is there any other? Do we have any other questions or comments, folks?
I've popped a few links in the chat there, so hopefully.
Yes, thanks very much for that, Debbie.
What I'll do as well is I'll share the PDF of the presentation and those links with you, Ian, and you can share it out with everyone that attended and all those that signed up as well.
Archie's put his hand up again.
Sorry, no, I was just going to ask Hudson which area in Malawi he was working in. Hudson?
Right now I am serving at Mchinji, with Mchinji District Council. Area where I am is Gumba area, very rural area as it is. It's where I'm serving, but we're working with Mchinji District Council and the Minister of Education. Particularly, I'm a primary teacher. Thanks.
Is that Mchinji or Mchinji?
What? May you come again?
Yes, sorry. Is it NCHINJI or M? Because we have one of our colleagues in Malawi works in Mchinji out near Zambia, the Zambian border. Is that where you're from, or?
For Zambia border, we are near because it's just a near for Shipata. So
Yeah.
for Zambia border, it's a very close to us. If you have that contact, you can
Yeah.
share with me the
Yeah,
contact
yeah.
with them. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Hudson. Thanks, Archie.
Como.
Then, any other questions, comments?
Great. Well, please do get in contact, and yeah, I look forward to maybe seeing some requests.
Time of year, shall we say. But no, thank you very much for that very insightful presentation, and I'm hoping you'll get more requests for STEM ambassadors as a result of this. To everyone else, thanks very much for attending.
Thank you.
Remember, if there's anything that I can help you with youth and schools work, please do get in contact with us. Thanks for that, Hudson. I'm just seeing something coming in the chat there. Please do get in contact with us because that's what we're there for. Okay. So, folks, if you want, I'll just call the meeting to a close.
Thank you very much.
Baby. I appreciate
Bye.
your efforts.
Bye.
Thank you. For us to have even more meaningful education, because it seems to me that there's STEM, there's the SDGs, there's the the UNCRC. All these things seem to be just like floating around under radar and not really being gaining as much traction as they should be getting. And I'm just trying to work out, is there, and I think it's basically because, what's necessary, some action at pay grade above us, or maybe a few pay grades above us. And I'm trying to understand how it is that the Scottish government have relaunched the Learning for Sustainability agenda, and yet it's not on any radar certainly in Perth and Ross. We had an in-service day for subject departments, and there was no mention at all of Learning for Sustainability. In our schools.
I've actually found it's quite parochial to some extent, Archie. You speak to Glasgow schools, they know quite a lot about it, but that was due to COP being held in Glasgow. I had a meeting today in Edinburgh, and it's now very much on the agenda within Edinburgh schools. They're all meant to be doing it almost every day for that. Whereas the whole point, I think, behind the SDGs in education, it was meant to just naturally become part of the teaching process. It wasn't going to be a standalone.
Yeah.
But I know if I was to go around Beath, if I was to go back into Beath, Archie, and speak to the staff there, I'd probably get about 10 or 12 of them would actually know what the SDGs actually are out of the 90 odd teaching staff.
Yes. And that's the thing, it should be a natural point of reference, because essentially it's what we're trying to educate our children into for the future, to be able to use their educational input to deal with issues such as equality and equity and the various basic needs for human.
The whole point about it is it affects people here. If you look at the 17 goals, it's there are people going hungry in Scotland. There are people in poverty in Scotland. It's all relative, but they are. You hear about complaints about waste being picked up in the cities. You talk about waste, water being affected here with sewage and whatever else. It's happening in this country as well. It's not something that's happening 10,000 miles away.
Yes. Yes.
And that's where I think it really should be incorporated. That's the idea of the global citizenship, is we've all got similar problems. It's just a different scale.
Mm-hmm. But I think it isn't being kind of kept on in consciousness. I think.
No, that's you're entirely correct. It's for people that are either education officers or whatever else, that they really should be driving it forward to the head teachers, and then the head teachers, hopefully becoming more in schools.
Yeah, and it's just how is there a mechanism that could actually happen? I think that's my kind of point. What mechanism would need to be in place in order for that to be happening?
I think it could possibly come for leverage from outside groups. I mean, the Scottish Government are very much committed to the SDGs per se. The Scottish Government. Most of us were at a conference recently, run by CEDA, the Scottish International Development Alliance, and Robinson stood up there and said that the SDGs are still fundamental to how we're moving things forward. But I don't think they've got a real grasp as to what it's like on the ground. I think primary schools are probably better than secondary.
Yes, yeah. And that's the thing, it's easier to coordinate a class that you've got for all day, every day, than to to have a range of different age groups and classes that you see for a short period of time. But
whereas I think, I know somebody would come to me and say, there'll be some people in my classes I've had in the past ask us, here he's talking about Malawi again. But, I'd be the only one talking about it because I'm the one that's been there.
Yes.
And I would try and incorporate the SDGs. I'd try to get them to think about, for instance, fertilizers, or when I was teaching chemistry, to think about, zero hunger. We need more food. I mean, there's more sustainable ways of producing food.
Yeah, I mean, Julie's been developing our science for S1, S2, and trying to put in SDGs, develop SDGs and have some kind of activity to try and engage the learners once they've done the learning, and see how this could be active. But I mean, that's that's one department where there could be other departments.
No, that should be good. If they're doing that, it should be across, because it is meant to be a whole school commitment.
And even if it was a homework task at the end of a topic, then that would make sure that people engage with it, and it'd be quite easy to do that. It wouldn't be saying we have to redesign our whole topic. We just put in a homework at the end of it, which could be part of an assessment. But that might be the assessment. Use your learning to make a difference in the content. So. Anyway, I'll let you go and get your tea.
No, it's right. No, nice to see you again, Archie. And I'll be on emails probably tomorrow. I'll have a look, because you want me to come up a Friday or something, wasn't it? Was it a Friday?
Yes, that's when our group meets. So that.